Welcome back to the official Cubase YouTube channel. My name is Stephen Bedall, and this is part 3 of the Synthwave series where we are writing, mixing, and mastering a track from scratch. In the last couple of videos of this series, we've basically laid the foundation for a track, and now it's time to get into all the detailing. I love this part of the process because it's truly the subtle details that make all the difference. We're going to take a close look at our drums, the transitions between sections, and the synth lead melodies, and we're going to put all the finishing touches on our track. So thanks for being here. Let's get right into it. So when it comes to detailing the drums, I want to show you a few very simple ideas that we can add that will probably feel like very subtle details on their own, but you'll see how a few small details can add up really quickly and have a profound effect on your track. So let's start with our snare. Maybe one thing that could be cool is adding like a reversed snare leading into every fourth hit, just to add a little flair to the end of every second bar. So what I'll do is just copy this track. Let's just cut one of these snares out and copy it over. And while we've got this region selected, I'll come up to Audio, come to Processes, and select Reverse. And we'll hit New Version. Okay, so there's our reverse snare. Let me just enlarge that. And we probably don't need the transient, but everything leading up to it, I'll just chop that. And I'll add a fade in. And we can also shape the curve of this fade. Let's open up the fade editor and try something a little more dramatic. Cool. So again, really subtle detail, but you'll see soon enough, all these little details are going to add up. Okay, so rename this reverse snare, copy these out across our track. So another thing that just came to mind is these hi-hats. I want them to go double time halfway through the chorus. So I'll just get the MIDI down real quick. And just using our original Synthwave kit for that, let's quantize the hats and just making some slight velocity adjustments here. Let's go ahead and copy that pattern out. And we are using the same samples as our other hi-hats, so maybe I'll keep them both in the mix and just pan these double time hi-hats left a bit. That's cool. Gives it a bit of separation, adds a bit of width to the drum picture. Let's copy these over to our second chorus. Something else that could be fun here is to look for a drum fill sample. So for that, I might come back to the Night Call sample pack. Let's type in fill. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. It's a little slow, but that's all good. Let's drag that into our drums group. So we'll place the start of it a bar ahead of where we're starting these double time hats, switching from normal sizing to sizing applies time stretch, and let's squeeze this audio. And what do we got? Nice. Here's another sample from the Night Call pack that could be kind of cool. Just something simple like that kind of sits on the top of the drum beat could be really cool. Let's drag that in. This sample's also at 90 BPM, so we do have to time stretch this one as well. So coming in at the fourth bar of the chorus, I also feel like we need to punctuate the end of that. Maybe something to reinforce the snare here, just to put the exclamation point on it. This sample could work. Let's drag that in. Okay, that sounds cool. Unfortunately, this sample kind of gets cut off abruptly, so might want to add some reverb to that. I'll come back to that. Let's keep throwing ideas down for now. I feel like we're on a roll. So already the few ideas that we've added to the drums here has got it feeling a lot more vibey. Let's play it with the bass. Let's switch gears here and focus on transition energy in and out of the various sections of the arrangement. The idea with transitions is really just to build and release tension. In a way, you could think of this as just preparing the listener mentally to move from one section of the song to the next. Without transitions, you might find that, say, moving from the intro to a chorus can feel really abrupt. So the various different sounds and samples that I use to create these transitions just serve to smooth over those big shifts in energy. Now, we've already explored transitions a little bit, for instance, with this riser that we added in the last video. Let's expand on that and see where else we can take this. So building up energy towards this chorus, and as it is, it feels a bit anticlimactic. We need to find a way to release that building energy once we get to this chorus and kind of respond to that riser. So I'm thinking some kind of like crash cymbal swell could be really cool. I think we got something like that in this Synthwave kit as well. In fact, we have a bunch of crash transitions here in this pack. That one should work. Okay, dragging that in, and we'll just make sure to line up this transient. Awesome, that works. And say we want like a longer tail, because this one's sort of short-lived. Another thing that we can do is just take a riser sample and reverse it. So I'll just search all packs here for risers. Okay, check this one out. Just a simple white noise riser like that could totally work. So if we drag this in, and same process as before, just come up to audio, process, reverse. We'll line up that sample at the start of bar 9. And let's just solo these 3 transition samples here. What do we got? Okay, very cool. In context. Now, one thing I want to quickly mention here is that listening back to it, there's a few elements that I think could use some reverb. And so far throughout the series, you've seen me add some revelation to certain tracks here and there as an insert. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there is, of course, the option to add reverb as an effect send rather than an insert. And it might be a more efficient way of doing things in certain cases. It also offers a bit more flexibility as far as controlling and processing the reverb signal on its own. And I'm going to come back to our drums group and start with this percussion hit here. First of all, I'll draw fade out. Now, if we hit this E button here to edit channel settings, come over to our sends, right click, and come down to the bottom here and say add FX channel to send. We'll choose revelation and call it verb. I'll just keep it up at the top of the session here. Make sure the reverb mix is at 100%. And let's feed some of this percussive hit into the verb. Cool, so that solves the problem of that abrupt cutoff on that sample. And of course, the advantage to having this reverb send channel set up is that I can push other elements into it as well without having to set up a reverb every time. For instance, maybe a bit of this percussive sample. Again, we'll just pull up the channel settings, hit send 1, and feed a bit of this track into our verb. Make sure the send is on, and let's see what this sounds like. So those might be a bit loud, bring them down in the mix, but you can really hear how just adding a bit of reverb to those 2 samples adds a ton of depth to the drums picture. So this is what detailing the track looks like. Honestly, on any given track, this is the kind of stuff that I spend the most time on. It can feel a bit tedious sometimes, and it's maybe not as exciting as putting ideas down, getting the ball rolling, and getting inspired initially, but I do spend a lot of time detailing because it makes all the difference. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start copying these details over to the other sections of the track. I'm also going to open up some of these arpeggiated tracks and start drawing in modulation curves. So doing all that would be a bit tedious to watch, so I'll press pause here and we'll come back and talk about it when it's done. Okay, we're back, and I snuck in a few goodies here, which I think you'll enjoy. Let's first take a look at the drums. One really important thing that I forgot to mention earlier about detailing is that it's not always about adding things. Sometimes you got to strip stuff back. For instance, if I come over to the second chorus, check out this transition going from the first half of the chorus to the second half. So super dramatic. All I did was remove the hi-hats for a bar, remove the snare and the bass line. On top of that, I also added some recurring snares. So right at the end of the phrase here. And now I'm giving this drum fill here a little bit of room to breathe for just a bar, which is all just meant to add a bit of drama and flair to this transition. A couple other tiny little details. I added this open hi-hat sample, which happens right before our percussive hit. And I also added in this crash sample on top of our swell crash. Just a more organic sounding cymbal, which I thought sounded cool in tandem with our cymbal swell. Okay, so arpeggios. Let's take a look at this followers track. If I double click on it, you can see that I've done some work with the modulation data here. And it sounds like this. As always, we're building tension up, releasing it. One major change that I made here is that I decided to extend the breakdown another 4 bars. I think it was a mistake to have it as 12 bars initially, just didn't feel right. There's an extra pad in here. I'm using the FM Lab for this. This is a patch called Fanfare. So that along with this analog pad from Halion. Also doing a bit of volume automation here for the FM Lab pad. And then I decided to also start adding in some lead ideas. So the first one that I want to show you here is this patch called Mother Earth. This is from the Voltage synth. and it sounds pretty cool. Check this out. And then finally, I wanted to revisit one of the ideas that we put down just for fun in the first video of this series, using the vintage glide lead. And as you can see, the session's getting pretty busy. So what I'm going to do is just play the track so far from the start of the breakdown right through the second chorus to the very end with all of these extra details that we've added. And keep in mind that it's not mixed yet. All right, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm feeling really good about everything that we've done so far, and this track is sounding pretty awesome, but we still need to mix and master it, and that's what we're gonna explore in the next video of this series. Super excited for that, so make sure to subscribe to this channel, hit that like button for me, share your thoughts in the comments below. My name is Stephen Bedall. It's been a pleasure, and I will see you in the next video.